Industrial relations.
Chris, Muslim.
Distinction. I don't know this really does that.
I'm saying that.
So we'll be starting in just a minute. Just waiting for a few guys to get online. Hi guys, I hope your Friday has been cool. So we're just about to start. Unfortunately, Abigail won't be able to make it. So I'm going to go through the content that she was going to present, and then she'll handle part of the Q&A and then any other questions that she might have. So this webinar is about essentially how to digitally sign documents and contracts. Abigail is the founder of the Startup Clinic, and so they're basically a legal outfit that we've built, a startup that we've built with the new lab to provide services to the startups that we're building. So your legal counsel, advice on how to do these things, contract management, and things like that. And the reason why we decided to build the startup clinic is because we realized that legal services, the way that that industry has designed its billing and charges and things like that, has not been made to accommodate startups or people who are building technology that's risky, that's new, that has the probability of failure, technology that is not making revenue on day one. So it's quite a process. It's taxing in terms of the financial implication, the processes, knowing who to go. Then there's a whole lot of it's not bureaucracy per se, but it's how accessible that information is. It's not as accessible as you might think, as you might want it to be. I mean, it's actually very difficult to do a patent database search for patents registered here in Zimbabwe. And I understand that's something that's being worked on, but those are some of the issues that the startup clinic is going to be lobbying for. So the main reason why we're having this webinar is to talk about how to do this digital signature thing that we've been referencing so many times. And the reason is that, firstly, the new lab model, the way that we work, it's a hyper virtualized program. So we're working from different locations, different times, in different time zones for that matter. And it becomes difficult to get people to sign contracts and enforce them, all in the given time period that is there. Sometimes there are time constraints to these contracts, as is going to be the contracts that are going to be sent up next week. And so, it's a problem that even I faced at the very beginning of this whole entrepreneurial journey. This whole notion of having to download the contract, print it, sign it, scan it, upload it. It's just, it's very difficult. So what I'm basically going to go through is I'm going to go through the different sort of hacks that we used in the very first days, and then some of the tools that you can use right now, and then some of them that are free, and then other things that you might have to pay for if you want additional functionality. But it all still applies. And I know there are a few questions about how enforceable digitally signed or e-signed contracts are in Zimbabwe, and it's an issue that Abigail is also going to touch on. So it's probably going to be dealt with either in the Q&A or in later conversations. So to start with, I'm going to share one of the things that or at least I used to do when we started. Let me just set that up. And there we go. Right. So this is Word, as you can see. So some of the contracts that I had to sign, or letters, or whatever it was, these were things that we actually generated on our own. So, for example, in this case, this is a letter to the branch manager for our bank applying for the opening of a second bank account for whatever processes that we're doing. And the thing is, so I had to email this letter because we didn't want to. I couldn't stop all the way to Harare to submit it. And so, thinking about having to download it, sign it, and go through that whole process was a bit of a challenge. So what we did, and this is kind of a hack, was I got a friend who had a tablet, asked him to use his note-taking application, and so I signed on a white background and saved that as a screen capture, as a picture. And so in the very early days, what we used to do was would simply then import that signature. I'm sure if we use this one. So it's a bit of a very, this is my old signature, so I know it's a bit humorous. Here we go. So it would essentially be the insertion of an image, right? So we'll send the signature that way, save this as PDF, and send it to whoever was supposed to be getting it. And so this is one very basic, very simple hack as to how you could digitally sign things. I think most of us are able to do this. I mean, just have to make sure that you store this somewhere safe, so that not everybody just grabs your scanned in quotes signature and sends it out to people. So that was the first way that I used to do stuff. It's very rudimentary. It's very but it worked, right? So yeah. But then moving from there, I know you got an email some 2 days ago about this webinar, and in that email there was a link to an Adobe product. It's an Adobe Reader that we are asking you to download and use. So I'm going to go through how you could use that tool. So I have installed the tool already. I'm just going to share my screen just now and show you how we did that. So I know the different versions of the Adobe tool. So as you can see, it's the same letter that I was talking about that time. But in this case, it's just that Word document that was saved as PDF, and so we imported it here. So the Adobe Acrobat Reader, the DC version, this is the free version, so it doesn't come with all the functionality, but it comes with this fill and sign, right? So if you're to use that tool, as I'm going to do right now, it will activate it, turn your entire letter into a form, as you can see. And then at the very top here, there is the sign option, right? So it allows you to create two different types of signatures, either to import the signature as an image. So you remember what we did with the Word document, where we signed on a tablet or a device. Or if you are accurate, you could use your mouse to sign like in Paint, but like I think that requires quite a bit of an interesting level of accuracy and determination as well. So the first option that I have here, which is what I'll show you, is actually it's a scanned image of my signature, and so Adobe will import it and store it as a signature. And so all I'll have to do is go to sign, grab it from there, and place it, where I want to sign. Right. So there we go. There is my scanned signature. Alternatively, if you can't do that, or if you're in a rush or there are problems, so let me just delete this. So if you're in a rush, or you don't have the scanned image, it also allows you to add your signature. So you could draw your signature, as I was saying, but some of us, honestly speaking, I wouldn't be able to. So that's not an image, like an option for me. But you can type out your signature. So, and it uses this really cool font that kind of looks like a signature, and there you have it. So you also be able to take that and input that as a signature as well. It's a very movable item, so you can drag it to the right size or in whatever way that you want, to have it saved. Right. So there's a whole lot of other functionality here that I won't go into exactly right now, as this is about signing in digitally. But this is one way of doing it. I mean, it's a second way of doing it. It's very simple. It's very basic, and it gets the job done. Right. So this whole notion of digitally signing things, it doesn't just it's not just about the inputting of a signature. There are issues to do with, so maybe it's a contract, right? So instead of having to traditionally send it via mail or hand deliver it, right, you can use options to send and track. So Adobe has that functionality where you can actually then send this to somebody. So you create a link to the document, it will save it on the cloud, and that person will also be able to sign the exact same copy, right? But we can go into all of that functionality a bit later. So as you can see, it has saved my signature. This is now a signed document. I can simply close my Adobe application and send the signed document, right? So that's what you have. And so the whole functionality to send the contract for signing to another person, there it is. So you essentially just click on that and send. So that's how I generally do my own signatures and send out documents. And they have been accepted, and it works. Again, these are hacks, right? We'll have a conversation about the legal implications of doing this. And I know Zimbabwe has had issues when it comes to catching up with the rest of the world in these digital matters. But this is how you sign documents. Very simple, very basic. Now, there are other types or versions of the Adobe Acrobat Reader that also allow you to use sort of a signed, like a signature-based certificate, if I'm not mistaken. So I didn't install that version of the Acrobat, the PDF reader, but this is what the signature would sort of look like. So let me just zoom in. So instead of doing the whole actual signature, it would create this. So digitally signed by Takunda Chingonzoh, and it has the signing credentials. And so if you're to be using this, or if you have this kind of this version of Adobe, this is also enforceable. This was a contract that I was signing for an internship that I did with the Mandela Washington Fellowship. I sent it to the US, and it worked out. It would require you, however, to store the certificate on your machine, and then each time you want to sign, you'd have to literally call up that certificate and place it where you want to sign. So it's a bit trickier, but it's another option that you could use for digital signatures. So that's what you can do offline. I know, we're not always on the internet, but for those of us who have access to the internet, who are almost always on the internet, you could also use tools and platforms that allow you to do this, but on the web. So let me just share that. All right. So what I'm showing you here is, and I hope you can see this. So this is a tool called Concord. So they do document management. Let me see. Yeah, so you document to sign. It does version control. So, for example, if you're creating a contract and then you put in a clause and you want somebody else, to edit that and be able to check all those different versions, it also does that. But for this case, I'm just going to show its signing too. So you would upload your contract the normal way. This is a draft that I already have, and then I want to go to the signing option, right? And then it has the warning. Right, so it says to assure the document's legal validity, signing the document will block any future modifications, including to the required fields, things like that. So that's how it enforces the contract itself. It locks the document to make sure that it's not editable anymore. And then so it would come up, and again, it creates its own version of a signature. And again, you have the option to type or to draw. If you're that kind of person, it still works. You put in your credentials, so type it out. You can change the font depending on how you want it to look. It's entirely up to you, right? So there's a whole lot of, I would never send that. So again, that would be a signature, and then you prepare, and the document will be signed. But again, once you sign it and it has all these steps, you can see the numbers and things like that. So if you want to use an online platform, you then follow the steps. It's pretty, straightforward. It also adds a date stamp and then things like that to make sure that it's enforceable. So if I were to use this, then I'll enter the document title. Right, and send that as an email, right? So to right, and then add my message here. And either save it for later or actually send it, right? And it will actually send the contract. So that's one of the tools. So that's Concord. You can also use DocSend to manage contracts. And I think the one interesting thing about DocSend, which I actually like, is that it gives you analytics on the things that you are sending out. So let's try and use this. I personally don't use these tools. I'm not always online. I mean, if you're one of those guys who wants to sign on the go, then it's worth exploring. But the whole purpose of doing this was to at least show people the basic tools that you can use to start signing contracts, as soon as tomorrow. So it will show you how many people viewed the actual statistics here on the time of date when the document was viewed, and the time spent per page. So how much time was spent on this slide and that slide. This actually makes sense for people who will be sending out, decks to investors or to people. If you want to know which particular decks people were focusing on, what content was important and what should you focus more if you're improving it and things like that. This is a really cool and important tool. The other thing that I wanted to share with you, it's a tool that I use, and it addresses, it's not exactly about signing, but it's about, okay, so we already signed it. We need to create a new document for me to show you this functionality. It's basically a grammar checking tool. It's called Grammarly, and it works for most of your platforms that don't use a lot of JavaScript. So you can use it in Gmail to correct your emails and things like that. So if I type something like and break the language here, I haven't did the work today, and then make a few, let's see. It automatically pops up in the field where I was texting. So I have the application running as a Chrome extension here in the top corner. You see Grammarly, and then there it is. So you have the extension in Chrome. So whatever I'm doing on the internet, so long as I'm writing, if I'm writing a blog post, an article, a Facebook update, because I've seen those weird updates where people make spelling errors, and maybe they're using it on mobile or something. It's fine, it happens, but it's one of those things. Yeah. So as you can see, so it has already picked up that there are 3 grammar errors. So if you hover your mouse over it, it gives you the error message. So incorrect verb form in past tense. I could just correct it with Grammarly. So apparently, I think my trial expired today. So if you had the Pro account, then it would correct it, but at least it tells you where your errors are and things like that. So you can then get into correcting that. And once you do correct it, thinks it's a grammar error or whatever it is. But you get what I'm saying. So this is a tool that would just help you. If I make another error, it will scan the part and correct me. So it helps make sure that whatever you're typing, be it an email to somebody important or whatever it is. I know the traditional way of doing emails, they say type your letter if it's to an important person, type the email, save it as a draft, come back or give it to somebody with fresh pair of eyes to go through your email or to reread it and read it again. This sort of takes care of that because it makes sure that you don't send out funny spellings and grammatical errors. So yeah, that's essentially what we were going to share with you today. It's very basic stuff, but at least now you understand how you can use a very simple PDF reader to sign your documents, have them be legally enforceable, at least internationally. Abigail will then come in and confirm how enforceable e-signatures are in Zimbabwe. But I know a good number of institutions that accept them. So yeah, so that's what we have today. If there are any questions, I think our Q&A is working today. But again, I doubt if they are. I mean, these are very simple tools. We're talking about very basic things that you can use here. So I doubt if there will be any questions. I know there were a few guys who actually asked questions before this webinar because people were going out and researching, trying to understand, what they can do or how this tool works or whether I've used it before or if anybody in your lab has used it before. So that's pretty cool. And those questions were answered. If you want to have access to those questions, do shoot us an email and we'll just send you that conversation. But that's that. So these are very basic hacks, how to make sure your grammar is okay, how to sign documents as quickly as possible. Half the time, especially in Zimbabwe, I've noticed people actually are impressed when they send you an invoice and they say, a receipt, and say, could you confirm, receipt of this money by signing this receipt that they send in. It's usually a scanned image, and all I do is I simply download, use my reader, sign it to the back, and send it back in like 4 minutes. And they were expecting you to do the traditional download, print, sign, scan, and it's a process. So it's one of those things that also helps your street cred when you're doing some of this, especially as a startup. You want to be able to move fast, and be able to work as efficiently as possible. This business stuff sometimes sucks. So it's always good to have some of these hacks and tools and knowing how to use them. If you have any tools or ways of doing things that you want to share with people, please do send me an email. You I believe have the email address. You got the email. So just send it through and we'll share it through the communities that, we all learn from some of these things, understand how it's done. And I understand from the guys working on Hives, so Audrey and team, that there are contracts that are going to be sent out starting on Monday, to sort of formalize the work that we've been doing in NeoLab. And I mean, we've been talking about this whole change and the whole fifth build and all of that. So I hope to see you guys using these tools. This whole, I didn't have money to print, or, I was still to print, I hadn't downloaded, I didn't have internet. I hope, I don't expect to see, or we don't expect to see those excuses. Just get your Adobe, sign your documents, send them back as quickly as possible. Be that guy, be the kid. So great. Thank you once again for taking your time. Looks like we don't have questions. This broadcast is going to be available online on YouTube, but it's a privately shared video webinar. So long as you have the link, and you have the link through the emails that were sent out in the last, I think, 2 days ago. So you can always refer back to it if you want to look at the tools. That's what we have. So it's great. I hope you have a great weekend, and I know people are preparing for Christmas, so be safe on the roads if you're traveling. And wherever you are, remember, entrepreneurship is a lifestyle, so none of this, it's past 5 o'clock, so we don't work, or it's Christmas. Do what you can, where you are with what you have. That's kind of what we believe in. So great. Have a good one.